What's up, everybody? And today we're checking out Army Ranger sacrifices himself for his brother's combat footage. Mature audiences only. This is by a channel called Jeremiah. I always think of The Simpsons when I hear that name, Jeremiah. Yeah, I'll leave a link down below to the original video. We'll check it out. We'll break it down. We'll see what's happening. I've never checked out this YouTube channel before, so please go over to the original video, give it a like, give it a subscribe, all that good stuff. Really important that you do that. But yeah, I'm excited to watch this video and see what it's all about. Before we get started, though, check out Chug. 10% off, link down below for what I consider to be the best drinking vessel in the world. Listen, if you sat around a fire with your mates, if there's an apocalypse, if you are going on an adventure, this is the cup to have. I'm telling you right now. It'll keep your beverage cold for a very long time. Keep your morale cold for a long time if you drink morale. It'll keep your beverage cold for a very long time. It's made with sustainable materials, handmade here in the UK by a small business. It delivers internationally to America. I can't recommend it enough. 10% off, link down below, free customization, and a free bag when you purchase with a link down below. Also, check out Morale, my new business. Boom. I am putting an update on Instagram today. So if you are one of the people who backed the Kickstarter for the new beverage, if you're interested in what it's all about, it's not just a beverage. It is a mushroom-based drink and a nature-based community with a goal of getting people outside as much as possible. If you want to be a part of the movement, if you want to know more about the movement, you can check out the Instagram, you can check out the website. I've been doing this thing recently where if you follow the Instagram, I give you a shout-out here on the YouTube channel. So let's have a look real quick. Lucky Mima, Just Miley, Antonio's, I'm so bad at some of these names. Antonio's Strong, I think that is. JB802, Pete Zah, WJD7893. Thank you, everyone, for following. If you want to shout out, go follow the Instagram, check out the movement. Other than that, let's pull this up. Let's see what it's all about, and let's see what's happening here. I don't know whether it's combat footage or whether it's combat footage with dialogue over the top or whether it's breaking it down. I've never seen this channel before. So let's see what it's all about, shall we?
This is one of the bravest things I have ever seen someone do in combat. On July 12, 2018, Sergeant First Class Christopher Celiz of the 75th Ranger Regiment was leading a special purpose unit that included 1st Battalion Rangers and their Afghan partner forces.
Surprisingly, not that long ago, 2018. Usually these stories happen a little bit like, I guess we still was in Afghan at this point. But still, well, I mean, 2018 actually is now 7 years ago. Things are just going too quick, aren't they? Things are going too quick. I guess it was 7 years. I guess it was a while ago. Why does 2018 feel just like a couple years ago?
The unit was tasked with clearing an area of enemy forces deep in the Paktia province to disrupt future attacks against Allied forces and the Afghan government. Sergeant First Class Celiz had been a part of the 75th Ranger Regiment since 2013, and over the years he had deployed several times to both Iraq and Afghanistan. But beyond his impressive career in special operations, he was also a loving husband to his wife Katie and an incredible father to his daughter Shane.
Oh, whenever there's kids involved, whenever it's someone's kid and the dad or the mom, it breaks me out. I think ever since I've had kids, it makes me more like emotionally connected to these kind of stories, knowing that that's someone's dad that's going through this. You know, like that kid's got to grow up. Seeing videos like this online about a dad, also knowing the story, and yes, she can be proud, but sad that he had to go out there and do this type of work. Yeah, I also didn't expect this kind of story format for this video. With backstory, I thought it was going to be mostly just combat footage. So, I'm actually quite impressed.
In his previous deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan, his teammates spoke highly of him, saying that he was always going the extra mile for the dudes around him and seemingly always putting everyone else's needs above his own. And his family said he was the exact same way back at home, always putting their needs above his own. And on July 12, 2018, Celiz proved just how selfless he truly was. At around 5 a.m., the team's convoy was approaching an old storage shelter when they were suddenly ambushed by a large group of heavily armed enemy insurgents from all sides. The Rangers quickly got to work trying to repel the enemy attack, but realizing they were completely surrounded, Celiz intentionally exposed himself to intense enemy fire so he could take control of the heavy weapon system mounted on top of his vehicle.
So this is actually I'm presuming this is actually his footage of him being on top of this vehicle. Also, I'm trying to look here where the gunfire's coming from. You can see the explosions further up top. This is the problem with watching footage like this, is you can't... I'll get the quality up as best I can. Whoa, what's all that about? Just give me a regular screen. You can't really see where the gunfire is coming from, and you don't know whether that's to do with the resolution of the footage, because these individuals were probably just wearing cheap GoPros or something, or whether they can't see it.
So he could take control of the heavy weapon system mounted on top of his vehicle, which he quickly turned on the enemy and cleared a temporary path for his teammates to move their vehicles out of the ambush zone. Once the Rangers made it out of the ambush zone, they quickly dismounted their vehicles.
I do have to say, let me just rewind a little bit.
Insurgents from all sides.
We've got this guy getting the rounds now. We've got explosions up here. And we've got just a group of individuals here on the left. I wonder what their SOPs are. I don't know whether they've just got out of this vehicle here on the far left, or whether they're just kind of waiting around for orders. But I wouldn't be grouped up like that. I'd be getting lads spaced out a little bit, getting some distance between each person, trying to get eyes on with what's going on. I feel like there should be a bit more sense of urgency. I don't know. This is the thing. We can presume watching this stuff. Everybody loves these commentaries that I make on military footage, but different country, different SOPs, different troops. Everyone has different ways of working. And that also gets completely changed depending on the location they're at, what the mission they're on. Like, there's so many factors. So for me to just be like, why is there a group of people there? There could be so many reasons that I don't even know about. SOPs change all the time.
Rangers quickly got to work trying to repel the enemy attack, but realizing
maybe they are. I think they are getting rounds now. You got an individual here. You could just see through this cage here. It looks like he's getting around down, or at least he's looking through his scope to see what's going on, and this guy's trying to get comms with a gunner.
Completely surrounded, Celiz intentionally exposed himself to intense enemy fire so he could take control of the heavy weapon system mounted on top of his vehicle, which he quickly turned on the enemy and cleared a temporary path for his teammates to move their vehicles out of the ambush zone.
Nice.
Once the Rangers made it out of the ambush zone, they quickly dismounted their vehicles and prepared to defend their new position. The team had multiple critically injured allies that they needed to get out of there immediately, so they called in for a medical helicopter to come pick up their wounded. The team just needed to defend their position long enough to get their wounded guys out of here, and then they could focus all of their attention on the enemy.
Again, context within a mission, you wonder why. Maybe why did he get off the big gun? Right? There's a lot more information here that we're not seeing, but it also might not be information that is necessarily available for someone like this storyteller to say. But it does make me wonder, what's the enemy like? What weapons are they used? Like, what's going on here? I feel like I want a bit more understanding of what's happened.
As soon as the medical helicopter arrived, the enemy focused all of its fire on the helicopter. Celiz knew how important it was to get their injured men out of here, so he put himself between the evacuation team and the enemy insurgents.
Oh, shit.
As the evacuation team was trying to load the wounded onto the helicopter, the enemy was focusing all of their fire on the bird. So Celiz literally put his own body as a shield between his teammates and the enemy gunfire. And as soon as the wounded men were fully loaded up on the helicopter, the rest of the evacuation team ran for cover. But Celiz stayed where he was out in the open to continue acting as a human shield and fire back at the enemy. It wasn't until the helicopter was back in the air that he tried to find cover for himself. Unfortunately, that's when the enemy fire hit Celiz in the chest.
Oh,
The medical helicopter saw Celiz get hit and fall to the ground, so they started quickly coming back down to land again. But Celiz rolled over and waved off the helicopter, knowing that if they stayed here just to save him, they would likely crash and more lives would be at risk.
oh my
He
God.
continued to wave off the helicopter, screaming at them to get out of here.
My hope is that he won some sort of award for that, because I'm presuming the lads that were on the helo at the time and got out of there were either saved or were able to live another day or go home to see their families. It seems like an incredibly shit situation overall in general here, right? Like, at the end of the day, this guy had to do something, otherwise this halo would have just been absolutely ransacked and more lads would have been taken out. And so he obviously saw this as a bit of a someone's got to do it kind of thing, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. And it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that.
Celiz then tried to crawl towards his teammates still on the ground, but he eventually stopped. When they were able to pull him out of the range of the enemy gunfire, they tried calling for another medical helicopter to come pick up Celiz, but it was too late.
Yeah.
The 32-year-old hero had passed away that day.
Oh
But his
my
actions
days.
saved the lives of his injured teammates as well as all the men on the helicopter medical team. He put himself last and everybody else first, just as he always did. The men on the helicopter reported later that they had sustained heavy damage from the enemy fire, but they were going to risk it to save their brother until he ordered them to get out of there. They say
Wow.
his actions that day almost certainly saved their lives. For his overwhelmingly selfless and heroic actions, Celiz received the Medal of Honor, which his wife and daughter received on his behalf on December 16th, 2021, during a White House ceremony.
Oh my
Men
God.
like this make me overwhelmingly proud to be an American. Sergeant First Class Christopher Celiz, thank you for your service and your sacrifice. This is
Yeah, these are the stories that we don't want to ever be forgotten, right? And I've said this so many times on this channel that there are so many stories from conflicts all over the world where there are heroes and their stories have just been lost to time. And their stories have just dissipated because the people who were there or the people who were told about these stories have just not told anyone else. And so it's really important that videos like this stay current, stay on YouTube, keep making new videos like this. So shout out to Jeremiah for getting this story out there to the masses. Beautiful story, tragic story, and a story that should never be forgotten. So great video. Shout out to Jeremiah. I'll leave a link down below to the original video. Feel like watching them videos is always really hard to watch, isn't it, at the end of the day? Especially, like I said, when they've got kids and stuff like that. I mean, it's still hard to watch. But I don't know, and now that I've become a dad, it becomes that little bit harder to watch that stuff. So leave a link down below to the original video. Go over there, give it some love, all that good stuff. Check out Chug. 10% off, link down below. And then also check out Morale if you want to be involved with the movement of getting people outside more, disconnecting from the online world and reconnecting with the outside world, which I think is incredibly important. Other than that, I'll see you in the next video. I love you all. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.